Before a spiritual awakening, your perception of life is limited to the synapses in your brain. So the amount of times that your brain has evolved, the amount of times the brain has wired and fired and connected the various experiences that you have had, so that you have built your version of life or what is life based on that memory bank. So your take on life is based on historical data that is contained inside of your brain. Except there will be a potential that exists even within your brain to know more, to experience more, and there will be previous experiences that you've not managed to tap into but can become triggered as a result of something happening right now. This is when some of us are stuck in traumatic experiences, or some of us experiencing something from another lifetime, from another time, from a memory that's locked inside of our brain, which we cannot yet tap into. And then we have things that the brain hasn't yet recorded as a memory. And those are things that we can call the unknown, something that is unknown to the brain, and therefore the brain and the circuitry of the brain, so the brain has not developed a sort of reference in its system. So you don't have in your record or in your filing cabinet for your brain, for the experiences that you might start to have without prior knowledge or prior intimation. Now, this is what happens when you go through a spiritual awakening, or you go through a paradigm shift of consciousness. What you knew as being the reality, what you knew, which was through your historical experiences, to be what is existence, to be what is reality. In fact, even the mechanics, how reality comes to be, how we are able to perceive life, and the fact that everything is always happening right now. All lives exist right now. All possibilities exist right now. You've not known this before. So one of the first things that you're going to experience, if you haven't already, is when you start to see orbs of light through your naked eye. So many of you might have taken photographs, and you suddenly have these beautiful orbs of light everywhere, which have nothing to do with the lighting, they have nothing to do with the camera lens, but they are there. Some of you might have reported seeing these visions of light on the peripheral of your eyes. You can see it. Some of you might even report seeing fully formed beings. Some of you might suddenly see very tall figures around you. Some of you might see things that are happening. Now, the second thing might also happen is when you put something somewhere, you go and look for it the next day, or even in a few hours, it's not there, but you know you put it there, but you can't find it. That's the other thing that happens, because when this is happening, you're literally shape-shifting, you're shifting into realities. You're constantly shifting into different realities that are existing all of the time, depending on the choices that you're making, depending on the frequency that you're running at, depending on what you're most dominantly tuned into. Now, when you experience a paradigm shift of consciousness, like a spiritual awakening, and if that is then amplified through a Kundalini awakening sometime down the line, then everything is going to happen at the speed of lightning for you. So you're going to be seeing all of these things all of a sudden, but your brain cannot comprehend it. Now, the first thing that we do when we see something that we don't comprehend is we get scared. When we get scared, we then have all of those stress responses that kick in. Now, for some of us, when we get really scared and there's no reference point, we get locked into a situation where we're now chronically in a state of stagnation, or we are isolated, or we feel we can't share this with anybody for fear of being judged, that we might sound a bit doolally. Now, some of you might be able to see others, literally that you're living here right now, you're in this room, but you thought you just saw somebody pass by you. You're walking, you thought you just felt somebody following you or somebody is watching you, and you don't feel that alone anymore. Now, these are the sort of mind-boggling things, and the reason why they boggle the mind is you don't have a previous, at least at the moment, you don't have the brain circuitry, you don't have a previous reference point, which is why it all looks very novel. Now, there will be some of you that become very comfortable with this, and in fact, you take comfort in all of this because this might be something that you've always been able to relate to, but you didn't have anything solid. Some of you might have sort of been living your life thinking, hang on, I'm not living my life. I feel like I'm living somewhere else. I'm already experiencing something somewhere else. And you wake up in the morning or you wake up from a nap, and even not waking up, sometimes even when you're awake, you might feel that you're walking through other places or you're actually experiencing other things. Some of you might feel that you're experiencing a certain emotion, but you don't know where that came from. Yeah. So all of us are experiencing a lot of things all of the time, a lot of realities all of the time, but you can make one of these your present reality, wherein you are most dominant in terms of your frequency, in terms of your vibration, and what you completely resonate with depending on where you are at. Now, folks, when we're going through all of this, as you open yourself up to this, the possibilities are endless. So it won't be that you've now mastered this universe and then you are finished. But no, you go on, because we are infinite and we have had an infinite amount of experience already. Right? But what you want to do is you're not going back into the experience that your consciousness has experienced already, but you're opening yourself up more so that the bank of experience, and therefore the consciousness, the ambit of consciousness, starts to widen, folks. So when you go through a spiritual awakening, some things will feel very, very new. Some things will feel very odd. Some things will feel very out there, weird, and things that aren't always talked about, or we don't always write about these things, because folks, in order for us to carry on with a reality that is based on our experience, that is based on history, that's based on the physical form, the physical world, where matter treats matter, as opposed to you going behind matter, going into matter before matter became matter, and looking at energy, and then you go before energy became energy, and you look at the consciousness, you look at the dark matter, you look at everything that happened before matter came into being. Now, this is what your spiritual awakening will do. It'll open these portals for you. It'll open you so that you can experience really how multi-dimensional you are and how interdimensional your lives really are. It is not a case of that this is the only life that we know and this is the only reality that we know, but we are constantly tapping into different versions of us throughout the day, which is why a lot of us, you will feel, I'm not really living the life that I could be living, I should be living, and you feel that I don't really fit in this particular life, but how do I tap into what you know you should be living? But actually it isn't even that you should be, but you're already living that life somewhere else. And if that's the life that you feel most resonated with, then that's the life that you want to tap into, and you want to tap into by making yourself open to the possibility that you're already living that life, which is the very basis upon which you'll find a lot of teachers saying the same thing, that feel it before it happens, because it's already actually happening. That is the magic of this, folks, that it isn't that you're trying to go into a reality that doesn't exist and you're trying to pretend that you are somewhere already, and then you're trying to emulate, or you're trying to get this feeling out of you. Yeah, but it hasn't already happened. But the truth is, it has happened, because what you seek seeks you. That is it. Yeah. So if you're trying to tune into something and you feel that, no, wait a minute, I know this isn't where I need to be. I know that I need to be somewhere else. It's because you do. It's because there is some other feeling. There is someone somewhere that is calling you, and that someone usually is just you. It is you calling yourself into another place, folks. Sending you so much love. There will be more on us being multidimensional. Lots of love.